Bernal, Potrero, San Miguel, Telegraph. There are 47 named hills in San Francisco. And as those people who have spent their lives fighting for social and economic justice here know, there's always that one more hill to climb. Our next guest is the arts editor at 48 Hills. That's San Francisco and the Bay Area's independent alternative news and culture site, founded by former editors and publishers of the San Francisco Bay Guardian. Welcome, Marke Bieschke from 48 Hills. Hi, Mark.
Hey. Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's so nice to see you here. I know that the city organized a virtual nightlife and entertainment summit just this last Monday. Really, the whole point there was to address the state of nightlife, since so many bars, like music venues, are closed down. And I know you covered the summit, but then you also have a personal take on it too. But let's start with the journalism part. What's your biggest takeaway from the summit?
Yes, this was the first real get-together of owners, bar workers, performers, DJs since the COVID shutdown. And the numbers very stark that came out of it. It was presented by the San Francisco Entertainment Commission, and they kind of gathered city officials in the first half to give a report about where we are right now. And as you can imagine, all of the bars and clubs, music venues, everything else shut down. The numbers were alarming. The first big number was that 18% of San Francisco is unemployed right now, with an employment rate of 18%, and up to 50% of that is nightlife and entertainment workers. So that's huge for the business, almost a bulldozer going through the business. And hearing that said out loud was very striking. The other striking numbers that came out were that the city is really not looking for nightlife to come back in any semblance of what it was until the end of 2021. So that's about a year and a half away. Our nightclubs going, music venues going in any kind of capacity, let alone what they were before. They said in terms of fairs and festivals, which are huge tourist drivers, and of course, big economic factors for the city. The night entertainment business in the city is a $7.2 billion business. Fairs and festivals, which are a huge part of that, are probably not going to come back in full capacity until 2023. So hearing those numbers was just really alarming. Obviously, things can change until then. Governor Newsom has said that he's going to be allowing agents to accelerate opening as they see fit when they hit certain targets. But for a lot of gig workers, drag queens, DJs, artists, sound techs, really don't know when they're going to be employed again, and that's really, really scary.
Mark, I just want to take you back for a second. Sorry about that. I just want to take you back for a second and just make sure I heard you correctly. End of 2021 for bars to reopen in the Bay Area? I'm sorry, let me pick my jaw up off the floor. Oh my God.
When I heard that, I had the same reaction. And, it's really, bars and restaurants may start reopening in some capacity in the next few months. Definitely, maybe towards the end of the year, we're looking at a social distancing kind of situation for restaurants and bars where people will be able to sit outside. Alcohol will be able to be served and sold outside to ensure social distancing. Obviously, enforced at the door inside. But for those nightlife experiences that we think of when we think of a night on the town, it's going to be not for a long time.
And you also mentioned music festivals, not until 2023. I mean, I am having such a hard time wrapping my head around that. I mean, we know, somewhere out there that it's going to take a while, but thinking about 3 years, it's just, you said it's like a bulldozer going right through this industry. It's like a tsunami going through the industry. It's hard to fathom. And I just, my
Very
heart
much.
just goes out to everyone who works in that industry. And I know that the summit also talked about really the future of nightlife. And even though it's so far out, what might opening up bars and clubs look like, whether it's 2021 or opening up bigger venues 2023? What might that be like?
Well, it was, although those numbers are really alarming, I felt like there was a positive vibe that came out of this summit as we're looking towards the future. Now, most people have been able to file for unemployment. We have some wonderful community structures set up to help those in need in the industry. So a lot of people are at least feeling like they can and look towards the future. As for what it might look like, as I mentioned, there's going to be a lot of enforcement of masks and social distancing, a lot of very gradual open up. Large venues will be treated a little bit different than small venues, and capacities are going to be very, very well enforced. But what some positive things that came out of it were, and these are real silver linings, but the fact that
Mhm.
larger concert acts have had to cancel their tours means that when these venues, local artists and musicians will be called on to fill them up. The same with certain traveling museum shows, the same with performers. So we might see a renaissance of local arts um, in our big performance halls, in our main spaces, simply because of travel here. So, that's one
I,
silver line, but it'll be a big opportunity and lead to more.
Oh, I love that. I love that you're looking at those
Yeah.
silver linings. I mean, that is the best that most of us can hope for right now. And in the Bay Area, we have so many incredibly talented people. So I'm anxious just to get back out and
Yeah.
see some of those local performances and performers. Also, I'm wondering, Mark, how are nightlife workers and performers feeling right now? And what are some of the biggest ways people like me who just really live here for that kind of extra activity in this area? How can we help?
That's a great question. Thank you. And a lot that was talked about was how performers have really created shifting online. There's online drag shows, online DJ, performers and artists telling you how to do things, teaching lessons. Um, there's almost too much of that to keep I feel the day because I've visited with so many different performers. Um, but I think find those performers and patronizing them online and tipping them online has been a huge help. There's also been GoFundMe's and other crowdfunding situations that have been put in place for bar owners. A lot of bar owners are feeling a little desperate right now because they still have to pay rent and cover. Of course, they can't open. And so going to your favorite bar's website or your favorite nightclub's website, finding their GoFundMe, almost everyone has one right now, and contributing if you can is really the biggest help right now. Reach your favorite performers who probably have a personal GoFundMe or crowdfunding. The best way to help right now.
Well, Mark, in addition to being a journalist, you also own one of my all-time favorite Bay Area bars. It's a true San Francisco institution, the Stud. I mean, who among us doesn't have a story about the Stud? And we heard late last night that the Stud is closing. I'm in total shock. I'm so, so sorry. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Thank you so much for that question, Jennifer. It's a announcement, and we're right now in the middle of a process of mourning as well as a process of figuring out our next steps. We really had to make the choice between paying rent and utilities and not being able to any revenue and closing up shop now so that we could reopen in the future somewhere else and keep the Stud alive for patients. I think it's a decision a lot of small bars are going to be facing in the future, which is so and reflects where we're at. Like other places, we've launched a GoFundMe that's online. You can find out more details about that at sf.com. As we planned a funeral for this space, because this is a place where so many people grew up, so many people had their first experience. I think you're in that cohort too, Jennifer, and so we wanted to have a proper send-off for this space that so many people have for so many years. 33 years we've been in this space, and we've been operating for 55 years. So it's a big thing. We'll be having a drag funeral space online on May 31st. So we'd like to invite everybody to come to that and share their condolences and wonderful memories. And more details about that will be on the Stud website as well, studsf.com. So right now we're just so sad, but we're looking forward to a time when we can reopen in the future with every other bar and club in the city and bring us back to life. I feel like the love from the community has been so supportive of us.
Yeah, incredible. Marke Bieschke, publisher and art editor of 48 Hills and one of the collective owners of the Stud. And as you've heard, the Stud has now announced that it is closing permanently. David, I am in shock and I'm so sad. This pandemic, there are very few things that have driven home the lasting implications of this pandemic in such an incredible way. I was telling Mark earlier that, being the little country bumpkin coming to the big city, I had never ridden a bus before, let alone, gone out clubbing. And one of my first and best experiences throughout college was going to the Stud late at night and dancing with all my best friends. You could go there. It was loving. Guys wouldn't hit on us. It was perfect, for a group of young women who just wanted to go and dance and have a blast. I just have so many wonderful and fond memories of that place. I just hope, beyond all hope, that they will reopen. It might not be in the same place, but that they will reopen again someday. What do you think about all of this?
Well, I remember my first day in San Francisco was October 1st, 1986. And I'm quite sure that my second night was at the Stud. I'm pretty sure that when they have that drag funeral next week, if they look maybe behind one of the crates, they might find a kind of Alexander Julian 1980s a very preppy T-shirt that I'm sure I tossed off before I went to the dance floor.
You can sell that thing. I'd buy that on eBay, by the way. I would totally buy that on eBay. And I am hoping that